Hey everyone, it's Melissa Maker, your accidental cleaning expert and cleaning coach for this Clean With Me podcast. This is one of several video podcasts we have in this series where essentially I am there to walk with you, work with you, clean with you while you tackle a certain area of your home. It's sort of like if you hired your own private cleaning coach and they were there kind of cheering you on, encouraging you, and also giving you step-by-step information and instructions on how to clean certain areas inside your home. And in this particular episode, we're talking about hallways, staircases, and other passageways in your house. You know, kind of those questionable spaces that it's like, they need to be cleaned, but who really spends time thinking about them too often? So you can sort of assess your home, whether you live in an apartment or in a large space, and figure out what those passageways are. How many staircases do you have, hallways, or other kind of nooks throughout the house that need a little bit of TLC? Well, we are going to talk about how to clean those today. And yeah, I'll just be your little cleaning parrot friend sitting on your shoulder, cheering you on. As always, we're going to go through the Clean My Space 3-wave system. If you aren't familiar with it just yet, trust me, you will be by the end of this. But this is a system I have been using since 2006 to clean, and it's really efficient. So I want to make sure that we are not spending one extra minute doing any more cleaning than we absolutely have to. And I'll run this long enough for you so that you can use it to clean all of those passageways in your home. Or if you want to just skip ahead to certain parts, we've got it broken out in chapters for you. So you don't have to listen to me talk about a certain area in detail if you don't need to clean it. Now, to fill the time, I have also found some funny, interesting stories on Reddit about hallways and staircases, awkward stories from, people who clean professionally and whatnot, just to kind of pepper in, and keep this kind of funny and interesting while you're working.
And just a quick reminder, if you haven't done so already, to subscribe to the Clean My Space channel. And I just wanted to let you know that this video is brought to you by our sister company, Makers Clean, where we sell our premium microfiber cleaning tools and so much more.
So without further ado, let's get right into it. And I will say that for many years, at the beginning of my Clean My Space journey, when I started making videos in 2012, and when I started my cleaning company back in 2006, I hated vacuuming. And that I have the origin story to my hatred for vacuuming. It happened at a Sears, at a local mall by my house, when my parents packed up our family car and took me and my sister to Sears to look at a Kenmore vacuum. I will never forget this. It was a canister. It was black. Both my parents were there. It was like buying a car. It was like the haggling, the sales pitch, the testing it out. Like, it was a whole job. And wow, I hated that vacuum because it had like onboard tools. It had like a little bag, and then on top of the bag was this little lid that you would flip up, and all the tools would be in there, and it followed you around like a little dog. And it was so annoying, especially because vacuuming was my job growing up, and I had to vacuum the stairs, and that canister would always fall down the stairs. It was terrible. So, kudos to Kenmore because it survived me, and that says something. So the first thing we want to do whenever we're cleaning a space is to think about the products and tools and techniques that we're going to need to use. And this is how we get right into that 3-wave system. So I imagine that all your passageways and staircases and hallways aren't going to be in the same location. So I just want you to visualize what each one needs. Are they carpeted? Do they have hard floor? Is there a lot of artwork? Is there a lot of furniture? What kind of paint do you have on the wall? Are there a lot of scuffs? Are there any special things that we need to take into consideration? Do you have dogs who, run their nose along the same line? Or do you have kids that always leave fingerprints on those walls? These are the high traffic areas in the home where we're going to see the most scuffs and dirt. So we want to take that into consideration. Are there runners? Are there areas where there are piles of bags or backpacks or stacks of books or anything like that? So think about these different areas and start to plan ahead for some of the, let's call them, obstacles that you're going to encounter when you clean these spaces, so that you can get the right products and tools or you can pre-plan things, in advance and get your cleaning done efficiently. I want to talk through products and tools that you're going to need right now. This is a generalization. You might need something specific or special for a cleaning challenge that you encounter. And you want to kind of centralize them. So I would suggest if you have a multi-level home, centralize your products and tools on your entry level or your main level. And then you can kind of bring everything upstairs, and sort of work from the bottom of the stairs, top of the stairs, and then bring everything upstairs so that you can clean those areas in the upper part of your home. And then that way you're not constantly running back up and down the stairs and you're being really efficient. All right. So when it comes to products, we're going to keep it pretty simple. You're going to want a glass cleaner, however you choose to make it or buy it. You want an all-purpose cleaner. You can have some sort of mild abrasive, whether it's a magic eraser or a little bit of baking soda. That's going to help us get rid of some of those scuff marks on the wall. We're going to test the wall first to make sure that it can tolerate any of that scuff removal. This is something really good for you to have handy. A disinfectant is going to be important if you have points of contact. And the other thing I would recommend, especially if you have carpet or upholstery in any of these areas, is a spot stain remover. Something like a Folex would be really great. All right. And then when it comes to your cleaning tools, we want to have a bin or a bag for any random stuff that isn't where it needs to be, because we always, during wave one, kind of pick things up and put them and centralize them in a bin so that we can sort them later. You're going to need a high dusting tool. You might even need a step ladder or a tall ladder, depending on if you have high ceilings. In the house that I'm in, I have really high ceilings. So I actually have an extension pole in my garage. It's quite tall and it can get all the way up there. And in fact, the other day I saw a dead bug on the window ledge. That is probably 30 feet up in the air. So note to self, that is something I need to tackle. But if you have a chandelier or high ceilings that are going to need to be dusted, this is your time to do them. So think about what tools you're going to need to do that. It's also good to have a handheld duster. And I almost never recommend these. You can use a microfiber cloth, you can use a Swiffer, you can use an ostrich feather duster, or one of those dusters that you can probably find at the dollar store that look like a puppet. They're like multicolored. You'll know it when you see it. They look tropical. It's like a tropical nylon duster. You know what I'm talking about. You might also want to get a rubber broom or a squeegee. This is going to be useful if you have carpeted stairs. Okay, stay with me on this one. Just keep this in mind. We'll get there shortly. You're going to need a flat weave microfiber cloth or a couple. You'll want some general purpose microfiber cloths, just your terry texture, a vacuum with vacuum attachments. And I will say, as I've learned from my own past vacuum experiences, if you have a cordless vacuum, this is going to be the time to use it. This is the biggest sales pitch for cordless vacuums, getting into those small, awkward, tight spaces. Mop and bucket. So depending on the type of mop that you prefer, you might have a mop and a spray bottle filled with your cleaner of preference. You're going to need several mop pads, or you can have a bucket filled with the cleaning liquid or cleaning product that you like to use, diluted, whatever you like. But that is going to be what you need. Okay, so if you live in an apartment or a bungalow, you are in good shape because it doesn't matter where you start or stop. But if you live in a multi-level home, you always want to start at the top, then clean the staircase, then finish at the bottom. And the reason is because we're going to be dusting that staircase, and dust is going to fall from the top to the bottom. So you don't want to get the area downstairs dirty that you have just spent time cleaning. So we're going to start at the top, and then we are going to work our way down the stairs, and then we are going to clean the bottom. So I am going to explain to you how to do the 3-wave system in a hallway or a passageway. And I want you to use that technique for either hallway or passageway. But between that, you want to clean the stairs. So I will cover how to clean the stairs after we cover how to clean the passageways. And then you're just going to repeat that for the bottom hallway or staircase. Okay? So wave one is all about tidying and organizing. You're going to start at the entry point of the space. So if you want to pick a door in your home that's, close to the hallway or the staircase or whatever it is, you want to sort of figure out what the clockwise motion is that you can work around that space. It's going to be a little awkward. It's not going to be as easy and clear cut as a room. The idea here is you want to work in one clear motion so that you are not missing anything. The worst thing you can do in cleaning is sort of ping pong or go back and forth between different spaces. Then you're going to forget where you started, and it's going to be really hard to get back on track. you're just going to lightly go around and tidy and organize. So you're going to pick up anything that doesn't belong. Oh, what is this thing that was supposed to go to that room? Or why is there a cup here? Or these gloves I bought at Costco and they should go in the winter storage bin, whatever it is. Anything that doesn't belong is going to go in that centralized bin. Otherwise, you're just going to look through, straighten things up, touch things up and tidy. You're going to line it up parallel, perpendicular, keep everything nice and neat. And ideally, you want to make sure that any area before a staircase has been tidied and neat. Now, one of the things that I like to do is put my bin or basket on the staircase, and that's often a technique I use at the house. If there's something that has to go upstairs, I'll put it at the foot of the stairs. If there's something that has to go downstairs, I'll put it at the top of the stairs so that I know the next time I go up or down, I have to take it there. And that's been a really good system for me. So you can also leave this bin at the foot of your stairs and then keep working. And I just want to mention that if you're doing staircases, you can all but skip wave one. There's really nothing to do unless you have stuff sitting on the stairs, in which case you can relocate it. All right, and while you are doing wave one, I am going to read you a couple of fun stories from Reddit. And this one is in the Ask Reddit subreddit. House cleaning people of Reddit, what is the weirdest or coolest thing you have ever seen at someone's house? This answer comes from probably eating tacos. My mom works with a lady who cleans Roseanne Barr's house. She said she's really nice, but glues everything down to the tables, like decorations and stuff. I don't know if that's brilliant or crazy. I'll let you decide. All right, this one comes from Edgar. My mom works as a caretaker, so she goes to the houses of her clients. One of them is really into jigsaw puzzles, like really elaborate puzzles, usually of really pretty landscapes. Throughout their house, there are framed puzzles they have completed, and they have one wall dedicated to their favorite. When she told me about it, I thought it was cool. A little weird, but still pretty cool. Yeah, that is a little weird, but also a little cool. We'll give that to you. This one comes from SOIK90. Story from a former coworker of mine when I worked as a college housing custodian. There was a student who brought food from the campus cafeteria all the time and used takeout containers. His room developed a reputation for smelling terrible, enough to make the hallway outside his room smell bad. It got to a point where my coworker was called in to clean the room since the student wouldn't. My coworker found dozens of those takeout boxes stacked on the floor, forming a wall, and the leftover food inside had turned rotten. That's disgusting. This person says, for 5 months, I worked for a small company that catered to primarily the wealthy. Most probably won't find these cool, but I sure did. 1, 6-foot glass cabinet full of designer handbags. 2, home elevator. 3, a shower that had, instead of a regular shower head, piping that made it feel like it was raining. I would love that. 4, a Disney room. It's exactly what you would expect. 5, a master bathroom that was at least 70% crystal. Holy fazuli. I hated cleaning that goddamn bathroom. Even the trash cans were crystal. 6, flat screen on the ceiling above the bed with another flat screen on the wall beneath it because why not? We're rich. 7, a full-sized naked baby mom-dad portrait in the guest living room. Not cool, but definitely weird. All right, everyone, back to staircases. So let's move on to wave number 2, because I'm sure at this point you've got all of your stuff ready to roll. And wave 2, we're going to get right back and start at the hallway. And I'm going to make an executive decision right now. I'm going to do wave 1, 2, and 3 for non-staircases, and then we're just going to cover staircases separately. I think that makes the most sense. What about you? Well, I know you agreed with me since I can't hear you, so I'm just going to assume that you did. Okay, so for wave number 2, we're going to get right back to our 12 o'clock spot, wherever it was your first time, and you're just going to work in that same direction. And essentially, we are going to tackle all of the high and low cleaning jobs, the weird stuff on the walls. We're just going to spruce this space up. So before we get started with, the walls and sort of the obvious things at eye level, we're going to use this opportunity to look way up and way down. So I'm talking about vents or air returns in the ceiling. I'm talking about light fixtures, chandeliers, corners, tops of door frames and windowsills, things like that we are just ignoring on a very regular basis. So this is going to be the time where you want to get out your stepladder or you want to get out your extendable dusting tool. And I will put links to these in the description so you can see what it is that I'm talking about. But these tools are annoying, because it's like I don't use them all the time, but they're really useful when you do need them. So honestly, when it comes to my chandeliers, I can't say I clean them more than once or twice a year. And same goes for those high up areas. Because remember, dust falls from the top to the bottom. So it's not like we're getting tons of dust up there, but dust does get up there because it floats around in the house and it's going to settle eventually. We also get spider webs. So if you see any like dark gray, sort of drapey, crepey stuff, I mean, you're old enough to know what a spider web looks like. Yeah, we got to deal with that from time to time because it doesn't look pretty. So what you're going to do is you're going to establish yourself in an area. You're going to feel really safe and secure. If you want to ask someone to spot you, this is a good time to do that, just to make sure that you feel comfortable with what you're about to do. And you're going to get your long or your extendable dusting tool, whatever it is. Okay. And you are just going to start at one corner and work your way around for your high dusting. Now, I will tell you this, before you do any of that, make sure that you turn off all your lights and you give them an opportunity to cool down. Yes, long story short, in my cleaning company, we cleaned a very expensive home and I did have a light bulb explode on me because I forgot to do that. So please, please make sure you turn off the lights, let them cool down. Now, LED lights are going to cool down very quickly. They generally don't need any cool down time at all, but your lights should always be off no matter what. Okay. Now, if it comes to a chandelier, you want to get as close to it as possible so that you can support it with your non-dominant hand and then do your cleaning with the dominant hand. Okay. If you have a crystal chandelier, there are special products that you can actually use to spray onto the chandelier itself that sort of encapsulate the dust and just have it fall away. I can put a link to that down below. I believe it's called Brillante or something along those lines. But if it's just, another type of chandelier or a significant light fixture, just support it with your non-dominant hand, use a dry microfiber cloth with your cleaning hand. And then if for whatever reason there's dirt or buildup or anything like that, you can use a bit of all-purpose cleaner to wipe it out. This is also a great time if you can unscrew it or remove it. You might want to change the light bulb if necessary. And if you can unscrew and remove the cover, you might also want to shake out all those dead bugs that I know have just been chilling up there for a long time. Trust me, I know from experience. Okay. Once that's done, again, just look at the tops of your door frames, look at the corners, look at those top parts of the ceiling, because you might not have a cobweb at the corner, but you might have it sort of on the higher parts of your ceiling. Okay. Just work your way around the space with your high duster. Now we are going to do our regular cleaning. Okay. And our regular cleaning is just going to include us starting back at our 12 o'clock point. We're going to have our all-purpose cleaner. We're going to have our glass cleaner. We're going to have our disinfectant at the ready. We're also going to have something that can remove scuffs from the wall, whether it's baking soda or a magic eraser. And I also want to make sure that you have ample cloths with you so that you can do whatever cleaning is necessary. So you're going to start right there at your 12 o'clock point. You're going to look up and you're going to do this up and down yes motion. And as we scan, our eyes are going to land anywhere where we see a cleaning infraction and we're going to clean it, whatever it might be. So if we come across a mirror, we're going to get our glass cleaner. We're going to get our flat weave microfiber cloth. Support the mirror with your non-dominant hand. Spray the mirror. Use the S pattern with your flat weave cloth to wipe it down. You can do the same thing for art or picture frames. You're also going to want to use your regular microfiber cloth just to dust the frames, and you would want to do that before you actually clean the glass. Okay. And again, we're working from the top to the bottom. Now, let's say you encounter a scuff mark on the wall. The first thing you want to do is make sure that your paint can tolerate the cleaning that you're about to do. So if you're not sure if it can, you can do a little patch test in a hidden area where you're using, a dampened magic eraser, a little bit of baking soda on your microfiber cloth, and just sort of dampened, I should say, and just sort of rub it in that corner and give it about 5 minutes and see what happens. If the paint is coming off, if it looks like there's a perma wet spot, your paint is flat and it's not going to be okay to proceed. However, if you have a paint with even a slight bit of gloss in it, or your paint is washable, you're in good shape and you can proceed. So what you want to do is dip your magic eraser or your microfiber cloth in a bit of water, or you can spray it down. Your magic eraser, you're going to want to get wet, but your cloth, you can spray with some all-purpose cleaner. You can dip your cloth in a little bit of baking soda. Your magic eraser doesn't need any further help. And you can just gently kind of wipe off or erase any of those scuff marks. Then you want to rinse it with clean water or a clean microfiber cloth and allow it to dry. Okay. And you can just move your way around. Now, if you're in a hallway that has scuffs on walls or baseboards or fingerprints from kids or nose prints from a dog, whatever it is, you might have to work your way around the whole room doing this. So again, just work chunk by chunk by chunk. We're going in hours, okay? But just remember that technique. You also might encounter some furniture. So again, what we want to do is move any furniture kind of away from the wall so that you can access sort of cleaning behind it if it's movable. You can take items down off that furniture. You're going to hold the item to the right of you because we're always working clockwise and you want to get the area dirty that's dirty, not the area that you've just cleaned dirty. All right. And you're going to dust that item, kind of wipe it down with your dry microfiber cloth. If it needs a little bit of all-purpose cleaner, you can use that as well. You're going to dust, place it somewhere, clean the piece of furniture itself in whatever manner is appropriate, generally a general purpose microfiber cloth, all-purpose cleaner. Then you're going to replace everything in a parallel and perpendicular manner so it's nice and tidy and organized. Now, let's say you encounter a point of contact, whether it's a light switch plate, a door handle, a stair rail, anything like that. You can clean it first with all-purpose cleaner and a microfiber cloth, or if you have an all-purpose cleaner / disinfectant, make sure you follow the package instructions. That's going to tell you exactly how long the product has to sit so that it can accurately and effectively disinfect that area. Or you can do the two-step cleaning, which is clean with all-purpose cleaner first and then use the disinfectant second. And now I want you to think about the baseboards, because as you are working your way through each hour of the clock, you're going to get right down and you're going to see what's going on at the baseboards. And in these areas, I have noticed that baseboards, particularly in high traffic areas, can be disgusting. So generally we would tackle baseboards with a little bit of vacuuming, but you might need to use a little bit of magic eraser, a little bit of scrubbing before you get to that vacuuming, just because of how intense the mess might be. So get out that magic eraser, get out that baking soda on your microfiber cloth, and just do a little bit of cleaning. Now, if your baseboards are quite dirty and need a little bit more than just that, you can apply this technique. This is what I use for really dirty, grimy baseboards. The first thing I do is dry dusting. So you can do this by hand or you can do this with a flathead mop. What you want to do is wipe the area with a dry microfiber cloth to remove any dust or debris. You can also use a handheld vacuum with a brush attachment if you prefer. I'll let you decide what tool you want to use based on the intensity of what you're seeing. Once that's done, you can do your wet cleaning. You don't want to do your wet cleaning first, because if you do, it's going to stick all of that dust and dirt right to the surface, which is going to look terrible and be even harder to clean. Okay. So you're going to use a dampened microfiber cloth with a little bit of all-purpose cleaner, and then you can sort of wipe or scrub. Now, if your baseboards can tolerate it, this is really where magic eraser shines. So feel free to use your magic eraser. You will probably be really delighted with the results. If you notice that your baseboards are just a little bit dusty, but no stains, you can just dry wipe them. And I think this is really important to do before you vacuum, especially because it's not something that we do all the time, but dust tends to accumulate on baseboards and it really just doesn't look great. Okay, let's get into those Reddit stories now while you're doing all of this work, working your way from top to bottom around the room. And then we'll get right into wave number 3. All right, this person deleted their account, but they say, ran a carpet cleaning business for a while. Customer asks me to move his couch and run under it. Sure, no problem. See, it's all about moving that furniture. We get to the area, move the couch, and there is an egg-sized ball of writhing maggots underneath the couch. Ew. I took one look, saw what it was, and moved the couch back to position. I replied, yep, carpet's all clean under there, when the guy asked me if we were able to move the couch. I'm not touching that. Lots of stories, but that was definitely the most disgusting. I used to work as a home health aide for a woman whose cat liked to sit in the dryer and leapt out of it when I would start putting wet laundry in. Oh my gosh. That reminds me of my first babysitting job. For these 2 kids, they were really cute and they had 2 cats, and one of them was a black cat, and that thing was so creepy. It used to crawl on top of their wall units. Oh my God, imagine the dusting job that would have to happen up there. And this cat, I was already a timid kid, so I didn't like being home alone, which probably didn't make me the best baby. Well, I was a good babysitter, but if the kids were scared, how exactly am I going to make you feel better? But anyway, the cat was so creepy and it would just sort of hide and then jump out of nowhere. It was very scary. I think the cat enjoyed terrorizing me. Okay, now this is kind of funny as well. What is the worst thing you can say in a crowded elevator? Now, of course, there were some really crude, really absurd, and really inappropriate things listed here. I laughed a lot, but I didn't include those because I try to keep things, as you do, clean. So here we go. I thought you said it wasn't contagious, said while on the phone. I'm surprised how fast they fixed this elevator after the disaster. Damn, 4 years past the inspection. Cross your legs and say, uh-oh, the pills stopped working. Is this the one that fell last year and killed all those people? I don't know if it was the garlic or the beans, but something isn't sitting right. Anyone seen my pet tarantula? And start making farm animal noises. It's funny because like when you're sitting here and listening to this or reading this, like you're just kind of imagining how the other people would react in the elevator. And it is so cringy and kind of hilarious. I find a lot of really childish things funny. So I really connected with that one. And I hope it gave you a little smile. All right, let's get into wave 3, where we are just going to tackle floors and garbage. So you are going to get out your vacuum or your broom at this point. May I recommend a vacuum? Brooms are great, but they're sort of for in-between cleans. They tend to kick up a lot of dust, and you've done a lot of dusting in this space now. So we want to suck all of that dust up and away. We don't want it to recirculate. So get your vacuum. You're going to start at the opposite end of the exit point of the room. Now, this might be hard to establish, so just pick a spot, whether it's your front door or your back door, whatever it is. Just find something that makes sense for you. Start at one end of the hallway or the passageway, and you're going to work your way to the end. All right. And if necessary, if you want to do any extra vacuuming around those baseboards, around those vents, those air return vents, or if you have any furniture that you might want to pull out or remove before getting into the vacuuming, this would be the time to do that now, especially because it's a tight space. It can be sort of hard to maneuver around that furniture. And it's something that I really dislike doing, but I can tell you when I take the time to move the hallway furniture out of the way and clean behind it, the space really does feel that much cleaner. And if you're going to do that, you don't really have anywhere to put it, just work section by section. Once the vacuuming is done, if you're dealing with carpets, you are finished. If you have hard floors, this is when you're going to bring out your mop and your cleaning product of choice for the floors. The easiest way to do this might be to break the room up into sections. Again, so you might want to work the top third, the mid third, and the lower third of the room. Just be considerate so that you're not backing yourself into a corner, or if there is mathematically no other way to do it besides backing your way into a corner, just give yourself a couple minutes at the very end to check your phone and let the floor dry or whatever the case may be. All right, so you've done wave 3. You can replace everything back to where it needs to be if you relocated any piles or furniture, but really just enjoy how nice this space looks. And let's get into stairs. There's not a lot of complexity to cleaning stairs, but if they're carpeted or if they're hard floor staircases, there are different ways that you want to approach them. And I will also say, if you have any alcoves or staircases that have high dusting requirements, we've already walked through how to do that. So you want to start with that before you clean the stairs. The stairs should actually be the last thing that you clean in your staircase area. All right. So if you've got ledges, picture frames, anything on the wall, your baseboards, your banisters, all of that stuff you're going to clean before you actually deal with the treads and the risers themselves. The reason I mentioned a rubber broom for cleaning stairs is because if you have carpeted stairs, it can actually be really hard to get right in there, right into those corners and those weird nooks and crannies that we deal with on the staircase. And you might notice that areas of the carpet are darker where the carpet sort of folds in where the tread and the riser is, sort of like the flat part and then the part that goes up, the tread, the riser. Okay, so in order to get in there, like a vacuum can be inefficient if you don't have one that is designed specifically for small, tight spaces. So a rubber broom is really great, or a squeegee, because it can lift up, grind into the carpet. That's specifically what the rubber broom is for, and lift up any of that dirt or hair, anything like that. And then you can sort of just zip that up with a vacuum afterwards. So consider getting a rubber broom. All right, so when we clean a staircase, the risers, the treads, and the banister, we are always going to start from the top and work our way to the bottom. Now, if I'm cleaning hardwood stairs, I like to use either a handheld broom, a feather duster, or a Swiffer duster, or one of those tropical looking dusters, because this is the technique that I do. And I like it because it feels safe and easy. When you're standing up on stairs, it's more risky. You can fall, you can injure yourself, and even though you might think you're the most stable, strong person in the world, accidents happen. So I like this method because it just seems safer and easier. And what it is you kind of get down on your hands and knees and you work a few chunks of stairs at a time, and you just sort of dust the area of the stairs, and you bring all the dirt down with you each time. So you're sort of dusting and bringing the dirt down, going corner to corner, side to side, covering the baseboards, covering that area where the banister is. And you're just sort of pushing out all of that dust and bringing it down. Once you get to the bottom of the stairs, because you're just going to keep moving down and doing that, once you get to the bottom of the stairs, you can just vacuum that up before you start working on the lower level hallway, because you don't want to kick up all that dust again. Then you can go right back up the stairs and you can just hand clean it. Like sometimes I talk about hand cleaning the bathroom floors, kind of the Cinderella method. But if you think about it, it is kind of easier to do the floors this way if you have hardwood floors as opposed to mopping it, because mopping is like you got to keep dipping your thing in your mop in the bucket or spray bottle, and sometimes the mop isn't going to fit on the stair. This is actually just easier. Just take a microfiber cloth, you can dampen it, and you can just wipe and clean the stairs and the wood baseboard, the banisters, all of that stuff. You can just clean that with all-purpose cleaner. It's really fast, and that is how I clean my stairs. Much easier. Now, if you have carpeted stairs and you're going to use the rubber broom, it's pretty simple. You're going to just use the rubber broom sort of as a rake, and you can sort of just work in short strokes. You're going to use firm pressure, and you're going to rake from one side to the other. You can, sort of collect all of the dirt and dust that's going to come up, and you're just going to repeat it down each stair, and you can vacuum it up at the end. Now, while you're going down the stairs, keep in mind that the banisters, if they need to be dusted, you can use just a damp microfiber cloth to do that really quick. And the banister, it would also be nice if you get to the top of the stairs, treat your microfiber cloth with a little bit of disinfectant and just wipe the banister down, provided that it is safe to do so. Now, if you have a glass stair railing, I used to have this. Fingerprints accumulate big time, so you're going to want to use glass cleaner to clean that area as well. Again, it'll all depend on the type of home or space that you have. Only you can know that. But now you are equipped and armed with the techniques. And staircases are awkward. They don't really have a first, second, or third wave. I mean, there's sort of a first and a second wave, but it's more just the first and the third wave. All right, so while you're cleaning the staircase, I have another funny Reddit story for you. Texas OT says, I literally fell up the stairs twice today at school. First time, I lost my footing. Second time was from me turning around to see how many people saw. This one comes from Bantha Fodder 61. It was a few years ago in biology class in high school, and we had these really wobbly stools. I'm already pretty clumsy, but I get my bag because the bell is about to ring. And when I get up out of my stool, I start to lose my balance and fall down and make the loudest noise in front of a class of maybe 30. Yeah. That would suck. All right, this one comes from Stale Madel's Victory. I was skimboarding at a beach one time and some girls stopped to watch. I, to my great misfortune, decided to show off. It starts perfectly, leading with a throw that has the board skimming across the water straight as an arrow. I sprint to catch up, jump, and plant my feet evenly on the well-waxed surface of the board. The water is at an ideal depth, about an inch. I reach down, digging my hands into the sand, in what began my prospective 1080 spin. I feel my momentum building, the wind streaming through my hair, and visions of impressed bikini-clad girls marveling over my skimboard prowess. Then it appears, a small sandbank in my path, unseen by my spinning, arrogant self. As I'm coming out of the spin, about 90 degrees from facing forward, is when I hit it. The board stops. I don't. All momentum travels up my legs to my upper body, and I am fully launched forward, and I crash face first into the water. My face grinds for a good few feet, and I'm full scorpion at this point. I settle down, hear the girl scream, "Oh my God!" Oh, that's so rude. Not only did I consider drowning myself in an inch of water, but I also learned some humility. Okay, so we have done it. We have gotten through how to clean your hallways, passageways, and staircases. Any of those kind of awkward, odd spots around the house that almost never get TLC. Well, now you know how to administer full TLC to those spaces. Any of the products that I've mentioned today, if you're unsure of them, I've got links to them down below. I'll also encourage you to check out the other podcasts like this. I know it's long, and that's by choice. We make them long so that you can really take your time with your cleaning. But feel free to fast forward or skip any parts that aren't meaningful to you. You can obviously repeat anything if necessary. You can listen to this anytime that you're cleaning these areas. You can even just tune me out. Like, it's just sometimes nice to have a voice there with you, someone there with you. And that's my job. I'm just here to keep you company while you're doing something that you might need some help with or that you might not want to do. And I hope that I put a smile on your face and those Reddit stories sort of perked you up a bit. I think they're kind of funny. Anyway, we do have other podcasts in this series available for other parts around the house, so make sure you check those out as well. And I really hope that you feel proud of the work that you did today and that your home looks way better than when you started. And I want to congratulate you on that. So have a great rest of your day. Good work, and I'll see you next time.